It's WCW versus NWO World Tour. GamePro calls it one of the fall's hottest titles. Game Informer says it's the end-all, be-all of wrestling, featuring over 20 of WCW's and NWO's top wrestlers, a 4-player battle royal mode, and up to 40 moves per wrestler, including signature moves and foreign objects, all on Nintendo 64. Call now, 1-800-WCW-8661, or send $69.95 to the address on your screen. Also available wherever video games are sold.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Izzy's Retro Video Game Reviews. And today we are going to be reviewing one of my favorite, not just wrestling games, but wrestling games. I mean, N64 games in general, I should say. Hold on a second. So N64 games in general, man. And I'm talking about WCW NWO World Tour. Don't worry, we'll be doing WCW NWO Revenge in a later episode, but for right now, we're just going to talk about World Tour. So this one dropped on November 30th, 1997. Man, I remember where I was and how exactly that went down. So let's before we get into my favorite things about the game, let's just talk about let me tell that story. So in 1997, I was in 4th grade. Fourth grade. And I couldn't. My mom said I begged my mom for an N64 so I can play WCW NWO World Tour. Had a PlayStation, but I didn't have an N64, so I to play WCW NWO World Tour. So at that time, at Blockbuster, they had a thing where you could rent systems, like not just the games, but the systems themselves. Like you had the opportunity to rent a Saturn or a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis or whatever the case may be. You can rent the systems, and then I believe they were only 3-day rentals at Blockbuster. So basically, you rent them on a Friday night, you got to bring them back on a Monday night. Because they didn't want people keeping the systems for like 5 days, and they only had a limited amount, so you couldn't keep them that long. So I begged my mom to, at least if she wasn't gonna give me one till Christmas, I asked her, can we go to Blockbuster to see if we can rent one? And she's like, yeah, whatever. I used to go to Blockbuster on Friday nights anyway to pick out a game to play for the weekend, so yeah, no big deal. And then so we went down to my local Blockbuster. They had the N64. We rented it, no problem. But the only problem is they didn't have WCW NWO Revenge when it first came out, because it was a hot commodity. I mean, 1997 was the NWO was in full swing. The Monday Night Wars were in full swing. So it was either you were a WWF guy or a WCW guy. And I was more of a WWF guy. Didn't really watch WCW, but I tuned in for the NWO. But yeah. So anyway, getting back to the story. So what do you call it? They didn't have WCW NWO Revenge. So I ended up renting Super Mario 64 along with my Nintendo 64 for rent. So played Super Mario 64, then rented the system out again the next week. Still didn't have WCW NWO Revenge. So I ended up renting Super Mario 64 again, and then finishing that off. But the third week, when I rented out the system again, they had it. So I rushed to get it, and then got it home, hooked up the system, and man, as soon as you throw that thing on, man, you see the beginning with all the superstars, the Giants thing, everybody just in game gameplay, and then you have the iconic startup screen where it says WCW NWO World Tour, and then it says press start, but you have the WCW ring in the background, and it's black, and man, I just remember I couldn't wait to jump in there, man. And then as soon as you jump in there, you pick your superstar, and you got three styles of attire to choose from. Like everybody had three attires, and then not only did you have the WCW and the NWO guys, but you had guys from New Japan Pro Wrestling. But the problem is that they didn't have the licensing to use the superstars' real names, so they had to make up names for New Japan superstars. And they did the same thing for WCW versus the World, which is the game that came out before this on PlayStation. I believe they came out there in the same year. So, man, I remember just picking up the control, and it's so easy to play. WCW NWO World Tour. You got your strong grapple with A, then you got your run button with the bottom triangle button, and then your with your face buttons, you either turn your opponent over on the back or on their stomach with the left or the right face button, and then the special was strong grapple, and then you wiggle the control stick when you have the special meter. Oh man, I remember. I remember, man. I remember just playing with my brothers, Carl and Gus. We were all in wrestling at that time, so we just played 4 players, and we just the mayhem ensued. And then I remember that a month later, when Christmas rolled around, we got our own N64 along with our own copy of WCW NWO World Tour, and we just played that thing for hours, man. Our mom used to yell at us, bro, to just go to bed and turn that thing off. But as soon as the next day rolled around, we were up as early as we can, just trying to play the game, man. Love WCW NWO World Tour. My go-to guys were Hulk, Sting, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. Played with Hulk Hogan a little bit, and yeah. So it's just a really really fun game. And every time my friends, even my adult friends that didn't play video games, I'm like, hey, let me show you something, and then just boot up in WCW NWO World Tour, and they'd be fascinated just watching me play and just watching me have fun. And that's what it's all about, man. Video games, escape from reality. It's a whole lot of fun, and I'll never forget those times. And that's why I still game to this day, because it's so fun, and it's just there's nothing like it, man. Just getting to escape to certain worlds, depending on whatever game you're playing. It's just all fun. That's why I love gaming, and it brings people together. So yeah. Man, WCW NWO World Tour, one of my favorite games, because it symbolizes the bond that I have with my brothers, man, my 2 older brothers. So that I'll always cherish. But yeah, anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode. Like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to hit that notification button, and I will see you guys in the next episode of Izzy's Retro Video Game Reviews. Peace.